It's midnight in Rome. A grown man, the head of one of the wealthiest households in the city, walks barefoot through his own home, silent, alone. His hands are full of black beans. He won't look behind him, not once, because behind him, he believes, something is following. He throws a bean over his shoulder, then another, 9 times. With each one, he whispers the same words. Words meant to pay off the dead, so they'll finally leave him alone. Why would one of the most powerful civilizations in history, the same people who built aqueducts, invented concrete, and ran an empire across 3 continents, be afraid to walk through their own house in the dark? This all started around 753 BC, the same year Rome was founded, in a story about 2 brothers, a crown, and a murder. Here's how it actually happened. Here's why this man is walking through his own house at midnight, throwing beans over his shoulder. Romans didn't believe all dead people were equal. How you died decided what you became. Die peacefully, get a proper funeral, do the rites correctly. You became a Manus, a calm, honored ancestor. Your family would visit your tomb, leave offerings, remember you fondly. No danger there. But die violently, die young, or worse, never get buried properly. You didn't rest, you became a lemur, or, in the worst cases, a larva, restless, angry, not staying where the dead belong. And this wasn't just theory. Romans had actual ghost stories to back it up. The writer Pliny the Younger described a haunted house in Athens, chains dragging through the night, a gaunt old man appearing in the courtyard, pointing at the ground. Eventually, someone dug where the ghost pointed. They found a skeleton, bound in chains, never given a proper burial. Once they buried it correctly, the haunting stopped completely. Stories like this weren't treated as campfire tales. They were taken as proof. Proof that an unburied body didn't just disappear. It lingered. It found ways to make itself known. And it wasn't just ordinary Romans who ended up in this situation. Even an emperor could get it wrong. When Caligula was assassinated, his own guards turned on him so fast, so violently, that nobody planned a real funeral. His body was rushed to a private garden, half burned on a hastily thrown-together pyre, then just buried under a thin layer of turf. No proper rites, no ceremony, nothing close to what an emperor was supposed to receive. According to the historian Suetonius, it didn't stay quiet for long. The caretakers of that garden started reporting ghosts. Not once, not twice, constantly. And in the actual house where Caligula had been murdered, Suetonius says not a single night passed without some kind of terrifying apparition. Guards were rattled. Staff refused to stay after dark. Eventually, the house itself burned down. It wasn't until Caligula's sisters returned from exile, dug up his remains, and cremated and buried him properly that the hauntings reportedly stopped. Think about that. This is the most powerful man in the entire empire, and even he wasn't exempt from the same rule as everyone else. Bury the body wrong, and it comes back. This wasn't superstition Romans took lightly. It was a real household risk. Something like discovering a crack in your foundation. An angry spirit in the family meant trouble was coming. And this fear traces back to how Rome itself began. Legend says Rome's first king, Romulus, killed his own twin brother, Remus, in a fight over who would rule the new city. Remus was never given a proper burial, so he didn't rest. He came back angry, haunting his own brother. Romulus started having nightmares, night after night, his dead twin refusing to leave him alone. He wasn't the only one troubled by it either. According to the poet Ovid, the entire city sensed something was wrong. Rome had just been found, and already it carried a debt to the dead. Something had to be done, or the curse of an unburied king's brother would follow the city forever. So Romulus created a ritual, a way to force the spirit out for good. That ritual became Lemuria, and Romans repeated it every year for the rest of Roman history. Here's what it looked like. Midnight. The head of the household walks barefoot through every room, silent, hands washed clean. He throws black beans behind him, 9 of them, never looking back to see where they land. With every throw, he whispers the same line. Take this instead of us. The beans weren't random. Black was the color of the underworld. Beans were tied to both life and death. Giving them away meant paying off the ghost. He picks up bronze pots and smashes them together as hard as he can, shouting into his own dark home, "Ghosts of my fathers, be gone!" 9 times, loud enough to drive something out by force.
This wasn't gentle. It wasn't reverent. It was an eviction. A man, alone in the dark, making noise because he truly believed something was still in the house with him. And Lemuria wasn't the only time Romans dealt with this fear. Earlier in the year, in February, they held a completely different festival called Parentalia. For 9 days, Families visited tombs, left food and wine for their ancestors. It was calm, respectful, a celebration of the good dead, the manes. Lemuria was the opposite of that. Where Parentalia welcomed the dead home, Lemuria threw them out. Same culture, same year, two completely different relationships with death, depending on which category you fell into. Even the days chosen for Lemuria mattered. May 9th, 11th, and 13th, all odd numbers. The word larva, the term for the most dangerous, malevolent version of these spirits, also meant something else in Latin, a mask. Specifically, the eerie, exaggerated masks worn during Roman funeral processions, representing the faces of the dead. Actors would wear these masks to portray deceased ancestors, walking through the streets as if the dead themselves had returned for the funeral. So the same word Romans used for a terrifying, restless ghost was also the word for a face pretending to be someone who had died. To Romans, there wasn't much separating the two. A mask worn to honor the dead, and an actual spirit wearing nothing but menace, wandering where it didn't belong. Same word, same unease. And Rome took this seriously. For 3 nights every May, the city slowed down. Marriages were forbidden. The entire month of May was considered a cursed time to marry. Temples closed their doors. Soldiers postponed new campaigns. An empire built on law, order, and discipline paused because ordinary people were too afraid of their own dead to carry on as normal. And that's the part worth sitting with. This wasn't some fringe belief practiced by a superstitious few. This was the head of the household, often the most powerful man in the family, doing this every single year, without question, for over 1,000 years of Roman history. Rome built roads that still exist today, concrete that's outlasted empires, systems of law still studied by governments around the world. But this they never engineered away. They just made peace with it. 9 beans, 9 bangs of bronze, once a year, in the dead of night, for as long as Rome existed. If you want more stories like this, the strange, hidden side of history they don't teach you in school, this is exactly what this channel is about. And if there's a piece of history you're curious about, drop it in the comments. It might be the next video.